We're up to pay period 19 of the year 2023, which ended on May the 6th. Let's talk about it. Coming up. All right, let's take a look at the logs page. 2,846 dispatched miles, that's loaded and empty. 2,080 logged miles, 2,081 odometer miles. Hold the phone, this ain't mathing. Again, carryover miles. Some of that travel actually happened last week. Because this is only a 4-day week, I was at home for 3 of these days. 5-2 to 5-4, that's why they're in green. I was on home time. My average net miles per hour this week was 54 miles per hour. Again, that's not what I had my cruise set at. That's what I wound up traveling. Taking a look at the map, we can see that Laredo to Iowa, Louisiana, that's that travel that happened prior to the week actually beginning. Our week begins at 0001 on Sunday morning, and it ends at midnight on Saturday. And what happens is if you don't have a waypoint or you don't have a delivery or a pickup, then it will fall into the next week. And that's what happened here. And you can see the rest of my circuitous route where I stopped for home time from 5-2 to 5-4 and wound up in Fort Recovery, Ohio. Taking a look at my unedited pay statement for 2023, period number 19. This is the period that ended on May the 6th, 2023. The first run went from Laredo, Texas to Kinston, North Carolina. It paid $1,049 for 1,606 miles. Second run for this week went from Kinston, North Carolina to the Greer Terminal. It paid $201 for 330 miles. The third run for this week went from the Greer Terminal to Duluth, Georgia, to my home in Shadydale, Georgia. Then I took home time. I left Shadydale, Georgia. I went to Buford, Georgia, and from Buford, Georgia to the terminal at Fort Recovery, Ohio. That paid $455 for 683 miles. Time for the summary page. $124 for empty miles, $32 for handling and securement, $16.55 for loaded miles, $88 in stops, that's $1,899 for gross pay, 2,846 dispatch miles at 66.8 cents per mile. Looking at the year to date, we're 19 weeks into the year. My gross income is $40,838. My total miles, 52,902. Divided by 19, we have 2149 for the average gross, and we have 2784 for the average miles. Multiplying that by 52, there are 52 weeks in a year, we get $111,748 and 144,768 miles. Taking a look at the calendar. For May of 2023, so far I've worked 3 days, been home for 3 days, and had 0 on-road reset days. Year to date, I've worked 91 days, I've been home for 23 days, and off on the road for 12 days. Now, overtime is not something that truck drivers are paid, but it is a calculation that I like to do. Taking a look at the overtime pay, it would be $1,899 for gross pay this week. I worked 42.9 hours. 40 of those hours would be regular time, 2.9 would be overtime. My average pay rate per hour, factoring overtime, would be $42.82. If you just do straight pay, it would be $44.29. Taking a look at the year to date, so far year to date, I've earned $40,837. I've worked 1,035 hours. That's 759 regular hours, 276 overtime hours. Remember, this is calculated on a weekly basis based on 40 hours per week. The pay rate, effective pay rate per hour would be $34.83, and straight time factoring would be $39.47. Now it's time for my final thoughts. I want to talk about etiquette at the fuel island. We watched a video earlier on, well, some people did, some of y'all skipped it, but for those who watched it, you got to see the fuel island with a time lapse. There's nothing wrong with taking your 30-minute break at the fuel island if you do it right. You either do it when there's no crowd there, or maybe you spend 10 minutes waiting for the pump, 10 minutes getting your fuel, and then 10 minutes at the pull-up line. There's nothing wrong with that. When it's a problem is when you're blocking someone else from getting their fuel because you've left your truck sitting on the fuel island and they can't get fuel, or they've finished fueling and want to pull up or get out of there and they can't. When it comes to the fuel island, think about how you would like other drivers to treat you and how upset you get when you have to sit there and wait a long time for the fuel island. Because I can tell you now, when I got to fuel, most of the time I got to pee. Been on the road for a lot of hours. I want to get my fuel, pull up to the pull-up line, get inside the building, get back out. If the fuel island's crowded and busy, park that truck. If it's the middle of the night and there's 8 fuel islands open, don't worry about it. Until next time, make sure you're enjoying every day at work.